in me. It's in me. I am God Almighty.
Whew. Okay, so unless I'm wrong, I'm not fan of any of these men. I don't hate him. That's not the point. People were accusing that man in the middle of saying that he's God, and I thought, wow, that's insane because that's one of the heresies. But then, when of course that whole story was coming out and was problematic a couple of years ago, a few years ago, again, I don't remember the whole story. People saying, well, that was cut out of the context. He was speaking in behalf of God or something like that. And I'm not a preacher, I'm not a pastor, so I cannot. I mean, it's easy to put. It's not okay. Now I don't want to use the word easy, but let's say I'm preaching and trying to give a parallel or maybe to use metaphorical language to the audience, to the flock, or maybe trying to put myself in the shoes of God for a second, like maybe when Jesus was suffering, or how he had to deal with self-righteous Pharisees of that time, or anything, or like you're a God, but then your people who are supposed to love you, they sin against you and go after other gods who either don't exist or they're demons. So that in that regard, I completely understand if a preacher or pastor wants to put himself in the shoes, so to speak, shoes of God and say, hey, if I'm God, would I be behaving like that? Would I be still loving, people? Or imagine that separation, between Jesus and Father, and how Jesus was suffering when he was, flogged. So yes, I can understand that. So if he was here saying in the same manner, in the same fashion, I'm God Almighty, in the sense of like I'm speaking for God, like if God is saying that, I can understand that, but he still should have phrased it way better, not to sound like he's God Almighty. So I'm willing to give him benefit of the doubt and not judge as he was a heretic here, because again, I don't remember the whole context. So he should have stated that better. But let's say that he was saying, like everyone else before him, because we're small gods, let's say that he was saying that just as God is God, that he's God as God's son, then there's simply no excuse for such a lame and horrible teaching. This will be a heresy of heresies, like a top of the heresies. Like you're getting borderline expelled from God's kingdom if you were ever in the kingdom at all. So I hope he wasn't getting there. I hope he just misspoke, speaking instead of God. Sean, I don't know if you know anything about this sermon and this case that was so hot and so like everyone was talking about this a few years ago. If you know, maybe you can bring some clarity.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say there are a couple of pastors on this page that I really like. Like maybe I don't follow their teachings or anything, but just their personality, the way that they preach, their humility. There's a lot of these guys that I really like. And this guy, I won't say his name just because I don't want it to get pulled down or anything. But he's one of them. I mean, this guy went to masters, right? Like he graduated from John MacArthur School. He knows better. I honestly think this was a gaffe. And I've watched when this first came out, I watched it because I was like, they got to be taking him. Like he says some weird stuff, but he knows better than this. I think it was a gaffe. He was talking about intimacy with God and being in communion with God. And he goes, God lives in, he's preaching from Galatians 2:20, where Paul says, it is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. And he's saying, I'm not in communion with this person. He's in me. I'm not in communion with God Almighty. I am God Almighty. And he even stops for a minute and looks around. And people, of course, are going crazy because they're eating that up because he said something that is very scandalous. But I think later he came back and apologized for it. I think it was a gaffe. I think he misspoke. He just got caught up in the air of what he was saying. And like I said, he does know better. He does know better. So I think this is just an instance of, it was an unfortunate thing. It was an unfortunate situation. This was a gaffe. A lot of us misspeak, and especially when you're caught up in that air. I can imagine preaching is just adrenaline going, and he's trying to get his audience on fire for Christ. And so I think if we're going to look at it graciously, something unfortunate happened, and everyone has a camera now, so there's 1,000 recordings of him saying it. But yeah, I think this was just him misspeaking.
Okay, so let's say that was really what was happening. I hope he was on his knees that night and say, God, oh my gosh, I really misspoke. I don't think I'm you. I don't think I'm divine. Please forgive me. I hope then he did this. And yeah, it is said that he had one of the best trainings. And of course, just because he went to John MacArthur's seminary, that doesn't mean I stand with John MacArthur's on every theological point. I don't consider myself Reformed Calvinist, but it is sad to see that he had strong or relatively strong theological upbringing and to the way he drifted after that. But I don't want to be the judge, so let's continue.
I am to Moses. You know, my name is I am. He was trying to get him to see you are as I am.
Okay. Well, see, we were trying to defend him, and now, oh my gosh, he completely twisted that situation with the burning bush and Moses. Just as the God is, I am. Okay, see, for this, I have no excuse. I cannot defend him. You see, let's say first time he misspoke. Okay, again, happens to all of us. But dude, you intentionally went to explain to exegete this passage of Exodus, and you went and you made such a bad parallel. You drew the message that is not there in the Bible at all. Just as this, dude, if Moses was like God, wouldn't he have to take the sandals off his feet? If he would be then walking, that would be holy space. But no, where God's presence is, that's the holy space. That's the holy, dwelling, not where Moses is or not where I'm at. That's not holy just because of me. Even in God's presence in me, then in a way, maybe I can say, well, God can make holy place and holy dwelling, and he can bless something, but I cannot do that. And just as Jesus is, I am. What is this Mormonism where Lucifer is Jesus' brother, so I also get to be Jesus' brother and I get to evolve to that position? Dude, that's not Christianity. Again, this is not systematic theology. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I'm not going to excuse him for this. This was bad, Sean. Would you agree?
Man, they had to play that right after I just got done defending him. Man, it makes me want to eat my shoe because it's like, foot off. Oh man, I guess I haven't seen that clip, but there's no defending that. That is not what God is saying there. Like you said, take off your shoes because this is holy ground. I'm the God who created everything, and guess what? So are you. No. No, that's not how this works. Oh man, it's just unfortunate that I just got defending him because I know his background and whether or not you like John MacArthur, you have to say he's a systematically intense preacher, and so him running the stuff, they have a way of doing things, and he has an Orthodox confession of faith, so the way that he runs the school is very rigorous. But I just can't believe that came out of his mouth. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, and what is said about all of these people, 9 of them on the photo, well, actually in the video, all of them have huge platforms and all of them have millions upon millions of followers worldwide. And this is said because people are misled by them. And again, this is why we're doing what we're doing.